Welcome to Drewry's Bluff. I'm Ranger Bert. Drewry's Bluff has so much history, and even though it looks all overgrown behind me, this was once a very busy, bustling place. There were barracks, houses, even a hotel and stables out here on the grounds behind me. And what I'm going to talk about today is the history of the fort and all the aspects of it. Battlefield, training camp, tourist excursion site, place where new technology was developed and deployed during the Civil War. All those things happened here at Drewry's Bluff. In addition to being a defensive position on the James River, Drewry's Bluff was also the site of a Naval Academy during the Civil War. This map shows a layout of the site. The James River is right here behind me. There were obstructions in the river blocking any Union ships from coming through. Here you see the fort. Remember, for the 1862 battle, only the water side was here. The fort was open on the back. After the battle, the Confederates built the landward side of the fort to enclose it and protect it from attack by the land side. There were stables and offices and barracks all over the site where these woods are today, including quarters for the naval cadets. They trained on board a ship called the Patrick Henry, and it was a ship that they used for learning navigation and maneuvering out on the water. There were several Confederate warships, ironclads, stationed on the river behind me, and it was called the James River Squadron. It was a naval force stationed here to defend the city. The marker here talks about the chapel, which stood right here. There was also a hotel and barracks in the woods behind me. One account about life here at Drewry's Bluff, written by one of the garrison, said, "A neat little village has sprung up." It talks about the soldiers here having chicken coops and gardens. It was a very comfortable post. It was not attacked very often, so it was quiet. It was a safe place to be stationed. But it was on the front lines, because no one knew when the Union Navy or the Union Army might make another attempt. So they always had to be on guard. Twice a day, mail ships came from Richmond, just 8 miles up the river. There were even boat excursions from Richmond, and civilians were encouraged to come down and tour the fort. One ad says, "Drewry's Bluff is now open as an excursion. Picnic grounds, excursions can stop there. Music and refreshments, Emerson upright grand piano on board. Fare to Drewry's Bluff, 25 cents. No charge for children under 5. So, in addition to being a frontline fort, Drewry's Bluff was a tourist attraction. The civilians in Richmond could come visit literally the front lines of the war.
Hi everyone, Ranger Claire here. The park has long been concerned about the erodible nature of the bluff. Its location on an outside bend of the river, as well as its extremely steep slope, make it a natural location for large-scale erosion. An effective and inexpensive way to protect the bluff is by allowing trees to grow on it. Trees protect soil with their roots, canopies, and leaf litter, and they take up a good deal of water so that it doesn't run down the bluff carrying soil with it. To create a more historically accurate depiction of the bluff, the park works with a local tree contractor that specializes in creating views along the river. The site is inspected each year to ensure that visitors are able to see up and down the river from the overlook, and maintenance is planned accordingly. The cliff at the overlook isn't the only area of Drewry's Bluff benefiting from trees. The fort itself has trees growing within it, as you can see behind me. Again, the roots from the trees help keep the structures together, and the fallen leaves add a protective layer along the surface.
Drewry's Bluff has so much history here. If you were standing here looking out over the water in May 1607, you would have seen Captain John Smith and the English explorers coming up the river from Jamestown, exploring and meeting with Native Americans. In 1781, during the American Revolution, British ships came up this river and engaged the Virginia State Navy. Of course, during the Civil War, there's naval activity here, not just the Battle of Drewry's Bluff, but in January 1865, near the end of the war, you would have seen the James River Squadron, the Confederate fleet of ironclads, steaming down the river to engage the Union Navy at what became the Battle of Trent's Reach. And then on April 4th, 1865, if you were looking out, you would have seen President Abraham Lincoln passing by on his way to visit Richmond. Throughout its history, Drewry's Bluff has been visited by people. And of course, during the Civil War, when this was a Confederate fort, it was a tourist attraction. People came here for picnics and excursions, to watch the troops drill. They had that debate. Is it appropriate that this be a pleasure ground, an excursion site, a picnic ground? We still debate some of those things today. What is appropriate during time of conflict? Hope you visit Drewry's Bluff today. You've got this great view looking out over the river. I'll leave you with a quote by Mary Chestnut, one of the civilians from Richmond who came here. She called Drewry's Bluff our Gibraltar on the James, fort that was never captured.